Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the Lupine C14 Magnetic Bike Smart Rear Taillight. Lupine C14 Mag taillight is their first rear taillight to feature a magnetic mount for quick and easy installation or removal. This is designed to fit between your seat rails and the saddle for a really sleek look and offer a compact taillight with a lot of smart features. In terms of packaging, you can see very compact. You have a basic white box with the Lupine branding. This is the international version. They have quite a few options. They have an e-bike as well as an StVZO one, which has a standard seat post mount. You can see a little schematic of the side profile and this little sleeve design, which reveals the taillight on the inside. Let's go ahead and take this out of the box and go over those specs. Retail price on this is $150. So definitely a more premium product like a lot of Lupine products, but it offers a fully replaceable and reconstructible design. So if you ever have a battery issue, you can easily take this apart and replace it, which is a feature most products do not offer. So really future-proof, and this should be the last taillight you really buy. This uses the magnetic saddle rail mount, but again, there is an StVZO version, which uses a standard seat post mount for $125. Full aluminum housing, so it uses CNC milled design for really great thermal properties and a very durable design. 240-degree visibility, so you have this nice protruding lens, which ensures you're visible from all angles. Single power button with an illuminated light to show you the battery status. And again, you can see fully serviceable with the little screws on here, so you can take it apart and replace whatever is needed. What makes this a smart taillight is the fact that you have a brake and ambient light sensors built in, so you can automatically have the light turn on and off based on the ambient conditions, or illuminate brighter when you're braking. In terms of what's included, you can see you get quite a few things in here. You get the instruction manual, which tells you how to install this on your bike and has multiple languages. You have a nice little card, stickers, of course, for Lupine. You have the magnetic charging cable, so it doesn't use USB-C or serial design, it just uses magnetic proprietary charger. So really simple and just get it close. You also have tools, and it's kind of a nice looking tool, a little screwdriver for servicing this. So those little screws use a screwdriver, Allen wrench for the bolts, and you have two different bolts for the mount. You also have that saddle rail mount. I'll take this out as well. And this again requires a standard tool rail design. You do need a couple millimeter space to accommodate this and about 22 above to fit, but you can see once you put it on here, this goes in and holds it in place. Now let's take a look at the weight of the taillight. Basically two pieces. You have the taillight itself and then the mount with the brackets. So the taillight on its own is 50 grams, so pretty light considering it's aluminum construction. Then we have the standard bolts with the rail mount, and that comes in at 16. The C14 is Lupine's latest taillight and is offered in quite a few variations. They have an StVZO certified one, which uses a standard seat post mount, an e-bike variation that actually is much more compact as it ditches the battery and simply uses the battery on your bike. And then we have the international version here. This one gives you the most options, including flash modes and all the sensors, as well as the fancy magnetic mount. Now, if you're wondering why this light costs $150 and it's only 45 lumens, that's because everything here is aluminum. So Lupine is really the high-end brand when it comes to bike lights, fully serviceable and sustainable. So you don't have a bunch of plastic or throwaway parts. Instead, you can actually open up these 6 screws with the included screwdriver, swap out the battery for a very affordable price, and keep using the light. So this is something that will outlast your bike. With the magnetic mount, this is also aluminum, which is really cool. Most saddle mounts are simply plastic. This one has aluminum construction with a magnet built in. So this will sit on your rails from the top and bottom. Slide it in and a little magnet on the rear holds it in place. To remove it, you really have to grab it and then yank it off. There's really no play here and nothing to worry about. If you don't have any GoPro or Garmin adapters here, instead, it really just sits nice and flush underneath your saddle. They're a pretty cool design. Consistent with the magnetic theme, you also have a magnetic charging cable. Now these are cool as it makes it simple, but it also means you can easily lose this cable and you won't be able to charge it. And if you want to charge this at work where you don't have the cable, you either have to bring it or buy a second one. So one big downside and one reason I generally prefer a standard USB port. This does make the water tightness and impact resistance better, as you don't have a USB port which can become damaged or have water protrusion. In terms of the design of the taillight, simple rectangular design, looks like a lighter almost. Aluminum body, the charger port on top, Lupine branding on the side with the red lens on front which protrudes. You can see it's a nice design that ensures you have 240 degrees visibility, so even from high angles you can see the taillight. It has a cool illumination pattern. Here you can see flashing mode, so you have a strip of LEDs down the center and then a strip on the top and bottom. The rear has a cheat sheet for the 8 different customization options, and then you have that slot for the mount. Again, you can see the actual bolts here, so these can all be opened up and allow you to fully service this taillight if you ever had an issue or you want to replace the battery. Now going to the user interface on this, there's a single power button, and it's not a simple single press to cycle through. Instead, you actually have to hold it and wait for the specified number of flashes. So there's 1 to 8 options. You can enable or disable the double click to turn on. So by default, it's a double press, which is nice, so you won't accidentally turn this on. Long press to shut it off. You can enable or disable the light sensor with the second option. Third option is the brake sensor, enable, disable. Then you have the constant mode, a low powered one with 4 flashes. 5 flashes is the high mode. Flash mode is 6 different flashes. Pulse mode would require 7 flashes, and a full factory resets 8. So that means you actually have to turn the light on. And if I wanted to switch modes from this flashing mode back to the high constant mode, I have to hold the power button for about 8 seconds to access the config mode, and then sit here and count. So you'll see a flash. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I release. This is the high constant mode. So definitely not really that intuitive, and it makes it really clunky to switch between modes, as you have to sit here and count the number of counts instead of doing a single press. Single press actually doesn't do anything. It's just a long press to turn it off and double press to turn it on. What's nice about this design is that even though it's not really that user intuitive, you'll never forget it as it's printed on here. You don't have to worry about an app becoming bricked with a system update. The other feature I wanted to show you was the ambient light sensor mode. With that enabled, it's default off. It'll let you actually just turn the light off during the day and then turn back on at night. So there's actually little ambient light sensors in here. And if you were to cover them up and wait 20 seconds, the taillight would turn back on to the specified mode you had on before. Now, this isn't an automatic on and off. This still requires you to turn the taillight on. And then once it's on, it waits 20 seconds to respond and decide whether it needs to stay on or shut off completely. So in a dark area, this would turn back on. So kind of a cool feature, lets you conserve the taillight. It doesn't really make sense for a daytime bright light, something you'd want on all the time. Instead, it's better for urban riding where you just want to conserve the battery. Here you can see it back on now that it thinks it's dark. So kind of a cool feature. There are 4 different output modes to choose from, a 0.2 watt low and a 0.5 watt high mode. You also have 2 flash options, a standard on-off, and then a pulse mode, which gradually goes up and down. The maximum runtime is 22 hours, and the other modes don't have a listed runtime, but we expect the constant mode to probably be around 5 or 6. Here you can see the magnetic mount. It actually works really well. Sits up there really high and actually doesn't really move, so very secure. Even over potholes or rough roads, we haven't had any issues with the taillight coming loose. Here you can see the flash mode on the road. It's an attractive taillight because it sits up so high, so it has a nice high visibility. It does block your saddle bag mount, so you can't really run a strap through your saddle rails because of the bracket. So that's one big downside. You're going to have to use a top bag or just use it on shorter routes where you don't need a saddle bag. The light itself has great features. You can see the brake sensor coming up here, so when you come to a stop, it goes constant. And you even have that ambient light mode if you wanted to conserve battery. Now let's compare the C14 Mag with other taillights on the market. We previously reviewed the Lupine Rotlicht. Has a different form factor, so it's designed to sit on a seat post. And you can see longer, better visibility with this, as you have that single LED in the middle. That's a lot more focused than this distributed cob design on the C14. It's also bigger. This is the extended battery variation, so it's a lot thicker. It uses a standard rail mount, or C-post mount with this rubber strap. You also have the cheat sheet here on the rear, so not very user friendly, but this one is easier to operate as you single press through it to change the modes, and then you have to do the long holds to change some of the features within there. With this one, you actually don't have a single press, so you can't switch between modes without having to wait the specified number of flashes. So one downside, but you can see a lot slimmer and sleeker design. We also have the KNOG traffic here, which uses the cob LED design. You can see with this one, you have a very nice grid. Tons of really cool options with single presses. So really interesting flash variations and a bigger face. So compared to this one, you can see half the size. And it sits on your seat post with a built-in USB instead of a magnetic approach. You also have the Topeak Aero light here, so a wedge design. So cob LED, and the whole body is translucent, so you can see just a bigger form factor, and again, taller rather than just being more narrow. Finally, we have the Magicshine Seemee 150 here. Looks a lot like the Bontrager lights. A simple cube design, goes around your seat rail, uses a battery indicator on top with this little rubber strap design. So definitely not as robust. You can see all of these are plastic, while the Lupine is metal, as is the Rotlicht. So definitely a different form factor if you're looking for something sleeker, maybe not quite as bright, because 45 lumens is not that bright compared to some of the higher end options, this one being 150 lumens, and then go as high as 400 for taillights. It's a very sleek option just to slide in right underneath your saddle. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the Lupine C14. What we like about it is they have sleek saddle rail mounting, so it sits right underneath your saddle, so it looks really good. It also has a fully serviceable design, including the battery, so you can just open up the housing and replace the battery, which is a really rare feature. The taillight also has a compact form factor and is pretty bright for only being 45 lumens. The main negatives with the taillight is that it is quite expensive. Obviously, the full aluminum construction is quite expensive. You also have a clumsy user interface, so you actually have to do these long holds and count the number of flashes just to switch between modes. Also, it has the magnetic charging cable, which is nice, as it makes the packaging simpler but easy to lose. Would have preferred just a USB Type-C. Taking everything into account, would give the C14 an 8.0 out of 10. It's a high quality seat rail light. The main issues with it is the fact that the user interface can be improved, and it does block a saddle, so you have to take that into account, but otherwise a really nicely made taillight. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.